All right, we're top of the hour. Looks like we have attendees jumping in here. Excited to talk with you today, Parker and Mark. Thanks for taking the time to jump in.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
Now, Parker, where are you in the world?
I'm here just outside of Salt Lake City in Utah.
That's right. Okay,
You can
that's
maybe
right.
see some mountains behind me here, but yeah, most of our team's based here.
And so, is spring starting to? Is it springing yet there, or are you starting to feel like it? It's in Salt
This
Lake
is
City.
this is the best because it's actually very nice down in the valley, but then
Okay,
it's still snowing. So if you like skiing, it's kind
perfect.
of the best of both worlds. You get spring down here, you can still go up on the slopes.
That's exactly it. Last weekend, I was able to go snowboarding and mountain bike.
You
And
must
so
be, yeah, where are you
I'm
based?
in Spokane, Coeur d'Alene.
Oh, okay, of course, yeah. Okay.
No, one day. Well, tell us about Tennessee. What's spring doing there?
Oh, things are finally getting green. Yeah, so I'm here in Knoxville, and every fall it's absolutely amazing, beautiful, all the changing colors. But then as soon as all the leaves are down, you're like, well, it's ugly until spring. So we're finally
Yeah,
starting to get all that color
yeah,
back. And
love it,
allergies are starting to kick in again. So
love it.
yay.
Well, welcome everybody who's jumping in right now. We've launched a poll. And as we're going to talk today and hear a lot from Mark Seither about AI and how it's going to improve efficiency and client experience, we're curious to hear if you could answer our poll question there. We'll revisit it here in a few minutes on what's your top priority of the benefits that AI bring to your practice, whether it's expanding the number of clients you can work with, expanding the services you can offer to clients, or is it just playing more golf and pickleball? Whatever, or sport of your choice. What would you want to do with those efficiency? We only let you choose one here, so it's got to be the top priority. Hopefully, in reality, we all hope it's all three of those, right? But I'll launch us here and kind of with a statement, and then we'll introduce everybody and kind of talk through our agenda and get going. Really, technology is a beautiful thing. And a decade ago, I was in technology and wealth tech. And it was an interesting time because we had these things called robo-advisors, and they started to pop up. And there was a season that everybody was like, "Oh, wait, are robo-advisors going to turn, financial advisors that are kind of their threat was financial advisors, are going to be the next travel agents that now anybody doing just investment management, the value of that against the robo-advisors isn't going to be able to compete pricing wise." Well, we all know that isn't true, and what came of that. But what it did do is it pushed a lot of advisors towards doing more financial planning and more comprehensive financial planning. And so now today it's AI, and how much will AI disrupt the advisor? I think in reality, we're seeing the value of the human advisor in the lives of their clients is more important than ever. And AI is just enhancing the client experience, enhancing the efficiencies the advisor can bring, and in that enabling them to deliver more service offerings to their clients. So that's our conversation today. We're going to have with how Mark Seither is doing exactly that. And so out of this, we're kind of going to do a couple minutes real quick on what is Jump as an AI note-taking tool. If for those of you here that don't know about Jump yet, you really should. And then what is Encore? Some of you don't know anything about Encore and what we provide from an estate planning offering and how Mark works with both of us. But we're going to jump into kind of interviewing Mark. Parker and I are very aware that advisors would much rather hear from each other than from either of us. And so our goal here is just to be able to facilitate a fireside chat here with Mark on how he's implementing our tools, the impact of that. We'd love to get Q&A going as soon as possible. Start firing questions at us in the Q&A, and we'll follow those as much as possible here. If there's things that are good questions and their timing's right, we'll Parker and I'll facilitate getting those questions over to Mark, and then we'll make sure at the end too we tie up all the loose ends on all the questions you throw our way throughout the conversation. So Victor, I don't know if you can throw that poll result back up. Hopefully we're getting answers here. So what I see on my screen, if that shows up, I don't know for everybody, I think it does. So we had what, 42% say let's work with more clients, 58% saying let's expand the services. It's a top priority. And nobody, we got good advisors on this call. Nobody's here just to do less. So love it. That those two are the answers. And so as I throw this, I'll throw this over to you, Parker. And as everybody's kind of seeing our friendly faces here on the introduction slide, what do you think about that, the poll question there? And why don't you take us jump into a couple minutes here of an overview of what Jump is and does for advisors.
Yeah, perfect. So I was laughing a little bit to see that nobody owned up to going home early to play golf, because we actually did our own very similar survey of our Jump users, and we asked a similar question, and it wasn't, we didn't make them pick one. So they were able to say, hey, I would do this and this and this. And so I'll just show you kind of what we saw. So this is just on our blog. This is like the survey results. So yeah, this is what Jump users are claiming that they're doing with time savings. And so, delivering more services to the existing client base was the most popular, but very, very short, like very, very closely followed by getting back some personal time. So anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, let me give just kind of a quick 3-minute intro to Jump for those that are not familiar. So we originally got into building the Jump technology because the short version is my neighbor, who's an RIA, like kind of a breakaway RIA. I was just chatting with him at the park one day, and he basically said, all of the follow-up work, including note-taking, is the bane of my existence. I got into this business because I love people. I love working with clients. I love helping them. I love investments and kind of nerding out on investments. I do not love typing things into my CRM. I do not love writing up notes and kind of having to relive everything after the fact. And so, now Jump works with about 6,000 advisors and kind of growing every month. And the story that we hear is very much the same, which is, as an advisor, I would love to show up prepared for my client meetings without having to go dig through all of my old notes and other things. I would love to be 100% present with the client without having to multitask, capturing all the data that is so important that we don't leave behind. And then when the meeting's done, if you believe the Michael Kitces kind of studies of how advisors use their time, anywhere from 1/3 to 40% of my time goes to doing the pre-meeting prep, but also doing CRM update, recap email, task list, wrangling, getting all the financial planning loaded into eMoney or Right Capital or some other tool. And it's got to be good, because if the SEC exam comes around, you got to be able to produce that documentation. And so because of that, we've seen advisors over the last decade or so try a lot of things to try to lighten that load, whether it's hiring a junior associate to try to kind of do some of that, maybe dictation technology that kind of like brings back a human transcript. Or there are also, probably 500 generic AI note-taking tools. Fathom, Fireflies, Zoom has a thing, Teams has a thing. And what we'll hear about those is that the first time they feel like magic, and then after maybe the 15th time, some of the industry-specific nuances are not there. And so it ends up with a lot of editing and a lot of kind of copying and pasting. And so our design at Jump is, let's use cutting-edge generative AI to help reduce that meeting time while also driving a better experience for the client, better experience for the advisor. And let's do that by putting a lot of that admin work on autopilot. And let's do it in a way where it's designed around the advisor's day in the life, very easy to set up and use, customizable. We've learned that advisors don't want to sound like an AI robot. They want to sound like themselves. And so kind of being able to tailor those outputs. And then let's also make sure that the chief compliance officer can actually say yes to it, right? We have all the different controls in there for the safe delivery of AI. And so just to kind of round this out, the basic idea about Jump is that AI helps prepare, capture, and then follow up and document the meeting, including connecting to the tools that are kind of already in the advisor tech stack. This has been really well received, both from kind of an industry perspective, various awards that Jump's technology has been recognized with, as well as, more importantly, just many advisors having a good experience, and I think most importantly, getting real impact. And so Our average user will come back and say, we're saving at least an hour a day, if not 2 or 3 hours per day in productivity. And then in many cases, reallocating that time, maybe to pickleball, maybe to golf, but in many cases to growing the firm, doing more for clients. And I'll just maybe share this last one. This was a fun one for us. We had an RIA out in Santa Barbara. They've got about 80 advisors. They did a secret A/B test without telling us, and they kind of looked at the productivity of the advisors who were on Jump, compared it to the advisors that hadn't moved on to Jump yet, and found that those advisors were doing anywhere between 20 to 50% more for their clients, including, by the way, estate planning and kind of helping them with that piece of the financial planning puzzle. So we always are really excited to hear that. So that's kind of Jump overview in a nutshell. Obviously, a lot more detail there, but I'll maybe pause there and hand it back to you, Matt.
Cool. And we'll send real quick and kind of what we're doing at Encore. And this is Mark will be able to answer your questions too as we go here. And we're on the side of why not expand these services? And the reality is if you guys are seeing my screen now, that 93% of investors want their advisor to help them with estate planning. Right now, only 22% are really providing that according to a Spectrum Group survey. And the reality is that 67% of Americans don't have an estate plan. And the current client experience is broken. And so they're not going, too many are not going to that referral attorney to get their documents created. And they're not getting their existing documents reviewed. And many estate plans are out of date and disasters waiting to happen that they haven't been reviewed in decades and they need to be updated. So what a perfect opportunity within what ASI is doing in the world to be able to jump in and say, hey, why can't we provide a visual summary of your existing estate plan to our clients and in partnership with Encore? We can actually help the client get through the questionnaire they need to get high quality documents, will and trust-based estate plans created. That's what you can do with that extra hour a day that Jump provides you. You can make sure their kids have their powers only packages of power of attorney healthcare directives in place in partnership with Encore. That's a huge gap that often gets missed. Making sure trusts are funded and business assignments are there and deeds from the property are moved into the name of the trust, which is a huge problem on existing documents, but one that we make sure gets done on any new documents. And then digitizing the estate planning experience so that it can estate plans for the first time can stay up to date with life changes. And with the advisor as the quarterback and the hub of this offering, a huge improvement to the client experience in the estate planning realm. Encore is unique in how we've approached it, that we have humans that review every document. So we're 60% in technology, we're 40% service. We can actually customize those documents to a broad degree because we have a human service. We allow the advisor to drive and facilitate this experience. This is where Mark, I'll ask you about this as we go, but how AI meeting note taking, as you can take a client through our questionnaire, how that helps as well. We're a pay-as-you-go service. We're really unique within this offering that it's free to create account at Encore, and we're just usage-based pricing. We talked about, we help make sure the deeds get filed and funded. So some of the unique pieces of that. Encore, we just get paid when documents get submitted. We charge $150 for a visual summary of the client's existing estate plan. We do the full extraction of that, deliver that visual. We charge $625 for a high quality joint revocable trust or will-based estate plan and do the deed filing as well for about $250 in most states. That's our quick overview. One of the quick questions we have all the time, and Mark, maybe you'll get this question today, is how do you do this without practicing law? Encore has put a ton of guardrails in place to keep the advisor in their role as being descriptive and an educator, not prescriptive and not giving legal advice. And so we've thought deeply about that. And just as Parker has on the AI side of it, when it's delivered within financial services, there's a whole nother set of rules that from day one Encore and Jump have been thoughtful of. And so with that, I'll throw it over to you, Mark. Everybody would rather hear from you anyway. And so, give us an overview, what we're talking about, what we both said so far on the impact of you implementing Jump, the efficiencies, and how that has caused you to think about your practice and your offerings and what you do today.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would challenge you a little bit that everyone wants to hear from me. I'm not the guy with super awesome tech, right? I'm the, you guys are out creating awesome things. I just use them. Yeah. So I'll start with Jump. I mean, Jump has been absolutely a game changer. I mean, before I used to have this thing called a notepad, right? That I would sit on my desk.
What's that?
And actually, because I have an office here and an office at home, and then sometimes I'm in the car, I had 3 notepads, right? And
Mhm.
just in case. And I'd say one of the big things is there's so much that I think I know you miss when a client is talking and they're going into detail and you're trying to jot things down and you can't help yourself but think about some of the things that they're saying, like when they say, well, I've got multiple 401ks, I've got multiple 401ks. I can't remember how much I'm putting into my, savings account every year. And you're just trying to like, kind of back of the napkin math, think of things. Well, as you're doing that, you're not listening to whatever's coming out of their mouth. Right. And so the more you're trying to jot down in your most chicken scratchiest handwriting to then review later, that's all stuff that you're missing as they're still talking. Right. And so Jump really makes it to where you can put the pen down and you can just be an active listener and you can ask better questions. Right. Because if you're constantly listening and you're constantly just kind of processing what they're saying and not having to worry about referencing it later, you end up uncovering other things, right? I mean, we had someone onboarding recently, and never married, no kids. He had kind of mentioned, he didn't have an estate plan, but didn't feel like he needed one. Um, and we're just kind of hearing him go through all this, and then he says like, yeah, and I'll probably leave my stuff to my niece and nephew, and kind of like brushed on from there. And it was kind of a time where it's like, okay, well, let's stop right there and let's like, okay, so you want to give stuff to your niece and nephew? That's got to be documented. That's got to be written down. Like you may not know that you need an estate plan, but you do need an estate plan. By the way, what's your niece and nephew's name? What and you're able to just sit there in that conversation. Jump is picking it up, and you can just kind of be present in that as it unfolds, right? So that's huge because then advisors can't help themselves but book back-to-back meetings, right? That's another thing that, I have some days where I'm 3 or 4 meetings all back to back to back. By the end of my 4th meeting, I'm like, okay, who did I talk to this morning? Well, like who you're having, and so you're having you can go back and read your notes, but it's still going to get kind of blurry if you have too many meetings in one day. And it's really nice to just say, hey, I had 4 meetings. And you can just go straight to Jump and kind of look at, here's everything that happened in this meeting. I love the ask anything feature. I mean, I used it yesterday where someone was on the phone. They referenced that they already had a brokerage account at Schwab, which is, who I use. And I just I just typed in, I was like, hey, did they say they had an account at Schwab? Yes, they did. Did they say their account numbers? Yes, they did. Right. And it's just, I didn't have to write that down. I could just talk to them. I can pull that information up later. Right. So that's been huge from a Jump standpoint. And the something that makes me equally as excited is there's a whole other area of Jump I haven't yet touched yet when it comes to customizations and the pre-meeting agenda. I have all that on my list of things to do, and so it's just one of those like, hey, I'm already saving a ton of time. I'm just gonna save more time once I get around to implementing that. So that's been huge on the Jump side. As far as the estate plan side, there's nothing more frustrating than feeling like you're more passionate about your client's legacy than they are, right? Because you're like, I shouldn't care more than you that your kids are going to get your assets. Like, I don't know what's going on here. And, you build a good attorney relationship, but there's still the moment you give them that card or that name, and then 6 months later, you find out that they didn't even reach out, or they went to the free consultation and never booked a follow-up, or they then started researching LegalZoom and think they might want to do it themselves, right? And it's just one of those, like, you have no idea how important this is, and I can't care about it more than you do, but it seems like I do. And it's just become part of our process of when we're onboarding a client, it's, hey, I just assume they have their estate plan done. Hey, we're going to do an estate plan analysis. Go ahead and upload your estate plan. Oh, I don't have one. Okay, take a note of it. And I just talk to them about, like, we will address the pros and cons of having an estate plan or going through probate. A lot of pros on the estate plan. A lot of cons on the probate side, right? And just making it part of the, you don't want to guilt them, but you do want them to have that feeling that, like, no, this does need to be done. Like, I'm asking you for it because I'm going to assume you did it because it needs to be done. And if you didn't do it, I'm happy to actually be the person to get that over the finish line, because I know if I go tell you to do it, there's a 90% chance next time we talk, you haven't even thought about it since our last meeting. So Encore has been fantastic in being able to get that done. And additionally, we run into people who feel like they have their estate plan done, and it's not. We've had people who are just like, yep, it's done. It's like, sweet, let's do a review. You do a review, you're like, it's not a trust. That is a will. It's going through probate. This person's getting your kids. They didn't want that person to get their kids, right? And it was just this, like, I'm glad we did this, right? I actually, just to go off one slight tangent, just recently had someone, not a client, is a family member who they have their estate plan done. They're probably the only person I know who has their estate plan reviewed more than I think they should, right? Where I'm just like, how many times are you going to pay to have this thing reviewed? But they're very passionate about, like, they want to review it every year, all this stuff. Well, this past year they discovered that in one of the revisions, someone who is very, very, very important to the estate plan had been taken out entirely, not mentioned or part of the estate at all. And they went back to go look, and they can't find at what year this person was taken out. What they had assumed was that because they paid the attorney money every year, that it was done right. And so it's just, I think, for an advisor looking to really up their service and confidence in their clients, saying, hey, it probably is done right. Let me just, let me get that outline for you. Let me get that breakdown of who all the roles are, so that you can see this is exactly how it is, because this person, they didn't have that estate outline, right? They just had a big, giant, thick binder. And every year they had the attorney walk them through and make sure, like, yep, this is all still good. And, again, they're just like, I mean, I've paid them lots of money. I just figured it was good, right? And it's like, well, yeah, it was not.
Isn't that fascinating? I think I'll let you take a drink there. And what's fascinating is that you can spend thousands of dollars in an attorney relationship. It's only really one person checked. Everybody's humans, and mistakes can be made. The value you provide is being a second set of eyes.
Yeah.
And the summary is also, because the client isn't really, when it's buried into 70 pages, it's really hard to find the nuance of, was this thing that something got messed up on page 47? Who's going to catch that? But if there is a summary involved that's easy to understand, that's where that would surface. And that's where you can provide a ton of value, making it easy for them to understand what those 70 pages say when it's reflective there. I don't know if you speak to that, I guess, of you stepping into that gap to be there to review.
Yeah. And I think, because I had hopes of, and AI is bringing this more and more into fruition of, I'm like, the family office service shouldn't just be for the 2 billion net worth client, right? I mean, you should, even if you have, 2 or 3 kids, you're making 250,000 a year, you have your house, you own one of your cars outright, and you've got, 300,000 in a retirement plan. Being able to coordinate not just your 401k allocation, but your 401k, your future real estate purchases, your insurance, whether that's your home, auto, liability, your umbrella policy, how that works with your taxes, how that works with your estate plan. That's what that's what a home office kind of does for families. They say, hey, we're going to take all this stuff. You're really wealthy. We're going to take all this stuff. We're going to make it to where you understand everything, and we're delivering everything for you. And advisors just didn't have that capacity before. And I think now with more and more of these tools coming out, you really can be, you can be the advisors that, the amount of times that we take a look at what people have for, their auto insurance, so they don't have a umbrella policy, and we just give them simple education on it. And then we're like, we don't sell this stuff. We're telling you that it needs to be fixed, and have your agent write us a thank you letter for us doing his job for him. But you're still getting help, right? And same with the estate plan stuff. It's, hey, I don't practice law, but I can tell you who your beneficiaries are. I can tell you whether or not you have the lapse or per stirpes. I can tell you, I can walk you through that scenario of, hey, you've got 4 kids. Are all 4 of them the same, or is one of them a little bit more of a loose cannon and one of them's more by the book, right? Do you want them all to have access to money at 18, or do you want to delay it, right? We had someone recently who, they're like, our 2 daughters, like, if they got it at 18, they'd be fine. I'm not sure about our 3rd born. Like, and it was, that can be delayed, and I kind of use our family as an example. We're all tell people, I'm like, hey, if something happens to me, my parents absolutely want whatever was going to come to me to go to my wife and to go to my kids. They can't say the same about all of the kids. I've got 5 siblings, and there's definitely 1 or 2 of them where it's like, yeah, if something happens to them, I think I just want the inheritance to stop there and get absorbed with the rest of the family. So I'm like, you don't have to structure it the same for every kid, right? There are pros and cons of doing it. As the advisor, you're not telling them what to do. You're telling them what the definitions are, how it plays out in real world. They know pretty quickly what they want to do.
Parker, I'll let you jump in there too. On kind of, we had a couple of good questions that came up on Jump. It's too, if you want to address those and kind of team Mark up to speak to that on the
Yeah, for sure.
side of it.
Yeah, no, thank you. So I think there were a couple, just because I buzzed through so fast on the overview, a couple of just like very basic questions, like you guys just like around how it works. And so, Mark, I'd be curious, are you generally doing virtual meetings? Do you do in person? Do you do both? Like, how do you kind of capture these things?
I'm 99% virtual. So I knew early on I wanted a virtual practice. I just moved into this office Friday from down the hall. As you can see, I've spent a lot of time decorating. But we work primarily with commercial pilots all over the country. But I will meet with people here locally. And so in those instances, right? So Jump just attaches straight to the meeting, and it's great. It's it joins the meeting usually before I do, right? I get a because I think it's 15-minute prior to the meeting, so I usually join the meeting when I get the pop-up that says somebody's trying to join your meeting, and it's my it's my Jump note taker. So in that sense, it's in there and it's going before, and then in the few cases where I've been in person, I mean, it's pretty remarkable. I use my phone, I put it in the middle of the table, and it picks everyone up perfectly. Picked up 4 different people talking, and I just afterwards because it'll say speaker 1, speaker 2, speaker 3, speaker 4, and I can just rename them, and it'll rename everything correctly. Pretty easy. And then the phone function too. I almost wish there was a way I could have Jumps join my call on speed dial, because
Yeah.
there are times where I'll give a client a phone call, and if I know I'm going to have a phone meeting, I'll call Jump prior, if I know I want it recorded, and then call the client, merge the phone calls. That's easy. There have been times where I'm on the phone with the client and it's not supposed to be a meeting. One time it was just a prospect, and all of a sudden they started going into everything, and it was one of those things where I'm like, I don't have a pad and paper, like I don't. And so
Yeah.
two things. If I think it's not going to ruin the flow of things, I'll ask them like, hey, do you mind if I join my or if I add my note taker on here, because I want to be able to review this later. If I think that's going to ruin the flow, the meeting dictation is awesome, right? So there have been times where someone has gone through, it was a new client or new prospect. They outlined like, I own 3 houses. One of them I own outright. The other one I owe 150,000 on. It's got a 2.9% interest rate, so I don't want to pay it off early. I'm renting them out for X, right? So they're going into things that are going to be it's going to look really good if I don't have to have them repeat it, right? Well, it's all fresh in my brain as soon as they get off the phone. And so I just open Jump and start recording. Just had a phone call with so-and-so. They have this house. They have this house. They've got this house. They owe this one outright. And I just, like, as much as I can, data dump into that voice dictation. And then that way I can hang up my phone. I can put it down. I can go to my son's baseball practice. I can get home later that night, and I can have everything ready for me to review as soon as I've got a minute, right? Because I don't want to, you don't want to be there like, hey, throw to first base, trying to jot down everything
before you forget.
Before you forget.
Yeah. I don't remember what the statistics are on how much you forget after 30 minutes or whatever, but it's pretty like kind of depressing. It's like, 70% or something. So and kind of what you're describing, I put it up on the screen for those that aren't familiar, but so Jump will, it'll either join the virtual meeting with a bot attendee, or for phone calls, you can basically have Jump call you and then merge the call so that it can pull audio that way. Or for in-person meetings, we have the mobile app, or you can just do it with your laptop or desktop. And then when the meeting is done, like Mark was describing, the AI assistant is listening for anything that sounds like it could be financial planning related, and it's going to kind of organize that and make that just like really easy to review. And actually, Mark, we're pretty excited about this. I don't know if you know this or not, but we're moving forward with integrations with some of the financial planning tools as well. And so then you can just sort of like send all this directly into a planning tool so that to kind of reduce some data entry there. So we're excited about that.
Yeah, that is awesome, right? I mean, that's one of the, when people have asked me about Jump, kind of the two things that I encourage them on is I'm just like, hey, it's by no means a perfect tool, but they've been around for a year and it's already saving a bunch of time. There's a whole section that I have yet to customize for myself personally, which is going to save more time. And I was like, and I got to imagine they're working on stuff that's going to make this more awesome in the future. So why wait to jump on, right? Like, let's do it now.
We have some fun stuff coming, and I think somebody asked in the Q&A, like, how do you sort of know who's talking and who's saying what? And so, the way that we handle it today is if it's on Zoom or if it's on Teams, we can pull the names directly out of Zoom or Teams, right? And then we just know who said what. And then if it's in person, there's this really cool technology we use called diarization, and it can detect the vocal fingerprint of different speakers. So like my voice is a little bit different than Matt's, is a little bit different than Mark's. It can just like cluster the sound waves basically into like, okay, that was Mark, that was Matt, but it doesn't necessarily know that it was Parker. So it'll say speaker 1. And then like you described, Mark, you can go back later and kind of relabel those names. So we're excited about that.
Yeah, Mark. Well, that's exciting too, because we see that same future for within the estate planning conversations. I don't know if you've done it yet with an estate planning questionnaire, or maybe speak to the estate planning conversations that you're having, and whether how you're using that with Encore too, to speed up the intake, the questionnaire and the data we have to gather, because this is the future that obviously the note taker or the AI note taker is going to be the hub of everything. And then to push it into the right places of the tools that you use, CRM, financial
Yeah.
planning, state planning. And so maybe speak your thoughts on that, Mark.
Yeah. So the estate planning, when I'm doing like a client onboarding meeting, right, we just try and get like the down and dirty, like, hey, I preface it with like, hey, we're going to ask for a lot of information. We're going to ask, you're going to need usernames and passwords, to sync accounts. And that's like kind of a quick condensed meeting, right? Estate planning is kind of the exact opposite, where it's like, hey, I already have a lot of your information. I'm going to pre-fill as much as I can. But over a series of like 2 or 3 meetings, I'm going to go into different sections of the estate plan, and we're going to describe what this is, and then give you a week to really think about it. And we'll hop on a meeting, and you can tell me what you guys have decided, right? Because people are thinking about, like for instance, when you're talking about guardianship, right? I mean, everyone says, well, both the wife and the husband say definitely not my in-laws, right? That's kind of the like not the one who raised this person, absolutely not. But you kind of want to go through like, hey, guardianship, right? Doesn't have to be, you go through the whole spiel of like, the perfect scenario is you guys raise them. We're not looking for the perfect scenario. This is going to be enacted in the least, not perfect scenario. We talked to him about, you can list, like you can list families that they can temporarily stay with while the guardian is being located, right? But you don't want to put them on the spot and say, so who, right? You want to really walk through it, have them kind of talk it over, and then say, hey, we're going to meet back in a week, and you guys can tell me how this conversation went, right? So then once, kind of going back to that note taking versus listening, when they're going over like, hey, we think for healthcare directive, we really like so and so to be his and so to be hers. For the trustee, we think it'd be this person, or this person is a contingent, right? You can let them speak, and you can ask a little bit further questions as far as, okay, like, is that a grandparent on his side, her side, right? Is that okay? So not so you're wanting his brother, and you're kind of learning also the relationship that they're having, right? You're not just taking down names. That's all you need is a name. But as the advisor, you get to go into those further conversations of, okay, so it's going to be your brother as the trustee. Does he live close by? Are you super close with your brother? Do you trust your brother with money? Obviously, if he's going to be the financial power of attorney. But I think, you don't want to, I don't want to think about it in this mindset of, hey, all these people are potential clients. But I do think if you're showing your due diligence of like, hey, so here's all the things you decided, here's what we have in place, go present this to your brother, go present this to your parents who are going to be this, go let them know that they're being filled in these roles. I think it gives you more conversations down the road of just like, hey, how's your brother doing? How's your, you're not trying to pick him up as a client. You're just trying to stay invested in your client's life. I mean, that is what people also want. They want an advisor who knows about them and cares about their life.
That's awesome. Looks like there's a bunch of kind of questions in there. I know you've answered some of them, Parker, directly, but the white labeling one I saw, Encore can be white labeled. I don't know about Zoom, but you can talk about those too.
Yeah, I think there are ways to do some white labeling for just the most common one that we'll see advisors do is they can rename the note taker itself so that it doesn't say jump note taker, but it says the name of their firm. So that's probably the most common way that it's white labeled. And then we do have some other kind of like custom stuff with large firms, but yeah, it seems like a very specific question, and I think they might want to email us and talk
Yeah.
about that in more specifics. Yeah.
And then there was one I think about data too, and kind of just all the security side of that, which I know is super important. And so for you
Yeah.
guys to address.
Yeah. So we host all the data in North Korea and we like sell it to anybody that wants to. I can't help myself on that question.
Hey, this one's being recorded too. So, for
Yes,
everybody who wants
for
the
the
recording of
record,
this.
that was a joke. Okay, that was a joke.
Do you have to do that now that you're having an AI? I'm just kidding when I said that to my
like
client.
data houses are super cheap in North Korea.
And like the rates were amazing. We passed that savings on to our customers. No, so yes, that was a joke as well. So okay, so yeah, so when we first started thinking about applying AI to conversations between an advisor and a client, sensitive data, financial data, you could have healthcare data in there. So protecting this data is very important. And there are a couple different considerations. The first is there are a bunch of federal and state wiretapping laws where you just need to make sure that if there's any kind of electronic capture, whether it's a recording or a transcription or an AI summary, it doesn't matter. You still have to let the client know what's going on, right? So that's very simple, and we have a bunch of ways to do that. It's not terribly difficult. It's not invasive either. We just never hear of clients getting freaked out about it, which I know sometimes advisors get a little bit nervous. Like, is this going to change the nature of the conversation? And Mark could maybe speak to that in a second. So that's the first bit. The second bit is how do we handle recordings? So some chief compliance officers think of recordings of calls as something that needs to be handled like books and records, the same way you'd handle an email. And others don't. They think that this is kind of like a notebook page that you can crumple up and throw away. And so the good news is we have both options. So you can basically generate all the AI summaries and also generate a recording with like a video or an audio file, which can be helpful for training purposes and other kind of being able to refer back to it. Or you can generate all the AI summaries without recording, right? So we sort of have both options. And then the last piece is when ChatGPT became very popular in kind of early 2023, the SEC came out and said, hey, you need to be very careful about what kind of personal information you put into these AI models, because at the time, ChatGPT was like basically taking all the data that you put into it and using it to retrain the model, which basically means it was learning that data, right? And so one thing that we've done is we've made sure that any data that comes in, the model is not learning that data. It's almost like a big fancy calculator where it sort of does the math to get you the answer and then it clears. So there's no retention. It's not learning from that. And that's really important just to protect that sensitive data. And then beyond that, we have, Matt, I'm sure you guys are the same way, but all the normal stuff, SOC 2, Type 2, and we do HIPAA because we deal with some healthcare data in the conversation, and having audits, having the penetration testing, like all the things that you'd expect from a modern software company.
And the meeting summaries too. I mean, you guys have that note button. So we use Redtail, and there's literally the entire meeting note. I can hit add note to Redtail and it moves everything into Redtail. At that point, I can delete the meeting if I want in Jump, and I still have all that information. And if I have another meeting with that client, Jump's also going to see that note because it pulls from my Redtail. So it's almost, you can export all the information out if it's a concern of having too much information in two locations. Just, I try to export everything into Redtail.
Yeah. Yeah, we try to make it really easy to do that. I'll just because I happened to notice in the Q&A, there's a question from Michael about a very specific issue he had with a specific meeting. And so Michael, if you want to, I'll drop my email in the chat. If you want to give that to me, I'll make sure that our team follows up with you on that if they haven't already. So we want to make sure and get you some help whenever you have any issues.
Saw a question about Advison and also WebEx. I don't know if those are easy, quick answers.
Yeah. So we do work with WebEx, and we have been working with Advison as well. That integration was it should already be live. It's very close. We just keep finding kind of little things, and it gets a little bit delayed, but should be very, very soon. So we'll have that tie in as well.
Mark, you're really just, I think, a few months in on your use of Jump, but is it causing you to think bigger picture about the things you offer? I know you were very proactive early on about being there, using tax planning tools. I think FP Alpha, and doing estate planning with Encore for a while. I mean, how's this causing you to think this frees me up to do? Well, how would you answer that initial question and maybe riff on it, of
Yes.
course?
So it's alleviated the anxiety of me having to remember to follow up later, right? Because there, the things you say, there's the things you say you're gonna do, and then if you don't put those tasks into Redtail right away, or if you miss one or two, so things as easy as, not everyone gets their taxes done early. Some people get them done late, and in a meeting, you know, it, we use FP Alpha for tax analysis, and we do some estate projections in FP Alpha too. It's another great AI tool. But in a meeting, if I say, oh, we want to do a tax analysis, have you done your taxes yet? No, I haven't done them. I'll probably get them done, first week of April, right? Or when we're onboarding a client and I've made it more of a practice to verbally say what we're going to do. Before, I would kind of have it in the back of my head. It's like, hey, I got to follow up on that later, or I'll include it in my notes. I now verbally say it so that jump AI will pick it up and put it in my notes or my tasks, because you can schedule those out and sync them to your CRM. So, if I'm with a current client, they haven't finished their taxes yet, in that post meeting process, it's going to have that list of taxes, and it's going to say in there like, oh, tax analysis. Well, they haven't done their taxes yet, and I can go schedule. Drops down the calendar, push first week of April, hit sync to Redtail, and it's automatically putting it in my Redtail to, in the beginning of April, go reach back out to them, right? And same with estate planning. I have someone I'm onboarding right now where she, the wife was a nurse, so she knew the the importance of having healthcare directives and everything. And she was like, oh my God, yes, we need to get an estate plan in place. We're going to have our second kid. But we were also going through the, getting them into our financial planning software, getting accounts set up, doing a tax analysis, right? So I was able to say, hey, we can finish these other three things in about 2 weeks. We will start on the estate plan when all you have to think about is the estate plan, right? And then, again, in Jump, it has those three things that I told them we would do. I schedule 3 of them for next week and 1 of them for 3 weeks out. And it just makes it to where I'm able to right away have that put in there to where when I show up that day, it's going to show up in my to-do list. And it's not, it can get a little overwhelming to think about, like, okay, so I want to make sure I do tax analysis for 100% of my clients. I've done 20 of them already. Who was in the middle, who scheduled, who filed late. You can just have that, have it recorded, have the note in there, schedule it out, and you're not having to think about it.
Don't you worry that someday your brain's just going to be mush if we don't have to think about these things and remember to do that thing? And I don't go, hey, did I do that? Did I send that other email? Did I do that follow up? If it's there for us, what is our brain for?
Maybe the part that should be worried already turned into mush. I don't know. But I think it just gives you more capacity to go do other more important things, right? Because I would say while remembering to run a tax analysis for a client is important, the act of stressing about remembering to bring it up later and scheduling it after the meeting, that's not the best use of your brain calories, right? And it frees up your brain calories to go do something more productive, right? Donald Miller's building a story brand, like his whole thing about like, hey, the brain consumes so many calories. So you want to make sure whatever you're thinking about is important, right? I think really it's taking the mundane things that, it's just freeing up more calories for more productive items to focus on.
That's tremendous. Got a good question from Justin here on the Encore side, of old trusts that may exist, and I'm getting the effect of the maybe the complexity of one that may include irrevocable trusts and for tax planning. Justin, I'll just tell you, we do summaries only for revocable trusts and will-based estate plans, so we don't do summaries if there is an irrevocable trust involved. And those are the kinds of documents we create. We're not doing any irrevocable estate planning. We're just doing the revocable and will-based estate plans. But absolutely, our team, the back and forth where there's questions, our team is we're 40% service, and that's where you have our estate planners. Mark, you can speak to that. You've worked with our team a lot, and the help you've gotten when you've had those questions from clients, both in estate reviews and document creation. Maybe you can speak to your experience with Encore there when things get complex.
Yeah, I mean, never having to hunt down answers, from you guys, never having to, never being left in the dark. I will say, if this person is dealing with, an irrevocable trust. So back in, up until 2019, I worked very closely with a trust admin firm that did administration on a really complex type of trust. And by virtue of that, I was exposed to some of those more complex irrevocable trusts. I think that is a great area to become highly knowledgeable on. And I mean, everyone plugged, offering more services to their clients is something that they'd use their free time with. I would say double down on education and double down on getting designated in some area. If you're freeing up 2 or 3 hours a week, because Encore is not going to be able to do that complex, the irrevocable trusts, but you can become really, really, really knowledgeable in that field and just say like, okay, well, we can handle the revocable trust over here. And it kind of elevates the advisor's, role in that person's life of, okay, well, we can handle that over here, but we're going to have to work very directly on this other more complex trust that you have going on.
Yeah, and I think somebody said that right out of the gate too. That was one of the questions that flew by. And thanks for all these great questions, interactions, good stuff, and helpful to guide in our conversation today. There was why not just meet with the attorney? And so that is a great path. We think that's great when advisors and attorneys are sitting together and helping the client. And especially on the more complex cases, and that's that education you'll get. And I'm going to add that to the poll questions in the future. Get better and more educated on more broader topics like tax planning, like estate planning, all those other pieces. And what we talk often about, the family office, experience for the mass affluent, and, that I know is a priority to you. But that education, but then it's also solving for how do we deal with all those clients out of state. You're remote, you're unique in that the clients you're working with are all over the country. And so you don't have that local attorney across town that you're meeting with local clients. And so for a practice like yours, even in the best case, if you wanted to meet, work directly with the attorney, that would be difficult because they're not there with you.
Yeah.
And you don't know who to refer them to.
Exactly. There's that. And then there's also, there's also the, like, people are much more likely to ask the advisor a question before they ask the attorney a question. And I think kind of creating that chain of like, hey, I'll talk to my advisor, and if my advisor says we need to kick it to the attorney, we'll kick it to the attorney, right? Because there are cases. I mean, we had someone recently who, they had kind of a more complex situation, and it was like, hey, like, everyone's afraid if they walk into an attorney's office, they're going to walk out with a $500 bill, right? I mean, that's just whether they are or not, doesn't matter. That's what they have in their head. And so by coming to the advisor pretty loosely about it, they can ask us questions. We can either say like, oh, no, you're overthinking this, or, that's not exactly what that means. Or yeah, if you're trying to do that, we need to get, you set up with an attorney, because this is a very unique thing you're trying to do. Here's why it's unique. Here's the risks of you not setting up correct. If you try and do it like an alternative cheap way, here's the risks of it unwinding, right? Or something going wrong. But they are going to, I believe the client's going to feel more comfortable coming to the advisor with the question, knowing that the advisor, like if the advisor says, hey, we got to get an attorney involved, now they're a little bit more confident. They're like, okay, well, I'm not going to get billed for nothing, right? Like I'm going because even my advisor is telling me like, yeah, this has to be addressed by someone else.
Great stuff. One other question we had was just on the training of advisors. That's exactly it. And so, Mark, I know you've over the years seen, you've been with us for a while, but you've seen our knowledge base grow. And so we have hundreds of resources, hundreds of trainings for advisors and client-facing resources that absolutely, if advisors aren't confident, if you're not confident in talking about estate planning topics with your clients, you're not going to do that. And Encore, we've structured our process where we only get paid when plans come through. And so we want the advisor to feel confident that they have either a resource at Encore that they can ping quickly and they can get great insights and information, or our training that is also available to them to put them in that confident state. I don't know, how was that for you? As you, maybe that is an important question we haven't seen, but it's there. When you stepped into estate planning and helping there, how did you kind of navigate that originally when it was like, maybe I don't have all the answers here, but I'm going to help this client that's been procrastinating. Let's get this done.
I mean, I think by virtue of just working with the trust admin firm, I had a little bit of a head start just on a lot of the terminology. I do know some advisors, they've asked me questions, and just by nature of their question, I'm like, okay, we got to start like on like 101, because they're asking questions where I'm like, that's not relevant to this, that's not even a trust. Like we're talking about two different things. But as far as your guys' knowledge base, right? I mean, everything's there. You can ask questions. It's pretty, and to throw another AI tool into the mix, right? It's like, hey, if you have a question about a very specific thing, ask ChatGPT, right? Not ask ChatGPT for your clients, ask it for you so that you understand. You know what I mean? Like if you're like, hey, what was the lapse per stirpes again? I mean, you can find it on your website pretty easily. You can find it on ChatGPT pretty easily. I mean, if you want to, have a diagram of it so that it's stuck in your brain, that's those are all ways that you can kind of boost your knowledge of it. And I think if anything, what helped me, and then I think it helps my clients, is not so much talking about the definitions of things, but playing out the scenario in more of a story-like pattern of, instead of saying, hey, a lapse is defined as, per stirpes is defined at, right? But saying like, okay, so listen, if I were to pass away, here's how this works, right? If your son passes away, here's how this works. And I think when you as the advisor can talk them through that, it's going to demonstrate, first of all, you're going to be more knowledgeable, but it's also going to them, they're going to be like, oh, okay, so he's not just a walking textbook, right? He's not just because we've all met that person where you're like, you're giving me the right answer, but I don't think you understand what you're saying. Like, I think you're just reading a script, and you want to be able to have those conversations very fluidly, and say, oh, so for my healthcare power of attorney, I'm not going to put my father-in-law. He'll pull the plug if I have a headache, right? Like, I want someone who is related to me. I want some, and kind of walking through that so they can be like, oh, okay, now I understand why you don't want to necessarily have the same person for all roles or something like that.
Yeah. Well, this has been an awesome conversation. I mean, it's exciting in the future. Parker, I've been in the industry for over a decade, a little longer than a decade. And I don't think I've ever seen advisors more excited about a piece of technology than what Jump is bringing, and, just for the immediate impact. And so congrats on what you guys have built. It's true. Just the truth. And so it's exciting times to see the impact that technology can have in all of our lives, and what AI is doing and how you guys have harnessed it for the advisor. We're throwing up a closing question here. If you'd like to get more information, we got great questions. Thank you for all the questions you threw our way. Many of you will probably have more. You'd like to jump in deep with Encore or Jump or both of us. Go ahead and answer those questions, and we can follow up from there to schedule a time. What we would be willing to do too at Encore is we can give you, if you want to book a demo, we can give you 50% off your first estate plan as a thank you for coming to the webinar. I'm hearing from Mark. Mark, super grateful for your time, for your willingness to jump on and talk about what you do, how you do it, and share what you've learned and what you're seeing in partnering with us both. So thank you for taking time out of your day to do that. Parker, I'll leave you the last words for anything here that you'd want to share.
Yeah, just one note. So if you go to that jumpapp.com/demo, you can schedule a demo or you can start a free 2-week trial. So both very easy ways to try it out and try it on. Yeah, I would just say, Mark, we love working with you. Thanks for being a Jump user. Matt, thanks for hosting this webinar today. And it was great hanging out with you guys. This is fun. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody. I hope have a great day. Enjoy the spring weather as it warms up for all of us. And we're grateful for everybody who attended, and we'll hopefully get to talk to you further as we go.